It is the last day of the month, 30th, that is July 2025. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Kenya. This is KBC Channel 1. How are you doing? My name is Victor Olo. Welcome to the program. Finally, Vivian, the month is over.
Is it really the last day? Tomorrow will be the last day.
The last Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Oh, yes, I got it right. The last Wednesday of the month. And now we are crossing to the month of August, and we really hope that things are going to be perfect. The last 2 months was not a good one for us as a country.
For sure.
But gently, we morphed into something that we always wanted to be peaceful, right?
Absolutely.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, quite chilly, I must say, but, well, nothing we cannot handle.
Yeah.
We are taking on the day. They say that how you run your day is all about your mindset. So whatever you feed your mind is exactly the results that you will take. So it's a beautiful day. I am proclaiming it as a very beautiful day and a fruitful one at that. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. As always, it is a pleasure that you have chosen to start off your day right here with us. Today being a Wednesday, we have several things in store for you. We're going to be talking, this is something that Victor will be tackling, matters education. Victor,
yes.
I am sure that education at the moment is the main conversation going round, you know,
it is
among different corridors.
Yeah, it's a testing time for the education sector in this country.
Absolutely.
And from what we've been hearing since last week, the Education Cabinet Secretary, that is CS Ogamba, said that the government is going to do everything humanly possible to ensure that every student is in school. The president also said that the free primary education is going to be affected. But here we have Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, John Mbadi, saying there is no enough money.
Yeah.
So I really want us to have that conversation, because right now schools are closed, and come next term, there is going to be that uncertainty when it comes to fees, school fees and payment, the capitation. We also have the transition, remember that. Some of the students are also joining universities come September. So there is just so much that is happening in the education system. So this is testing time for the education sector. And I have very good panel. I have Honorable Wilson Sosion, who is former NAT Secretary General and a nominated Member of Parliament. I also have Akelo Misori, who is the KUPPET Secretary General. I have Honorable Francis Mongangi, who is the Deputy Governor of Machakos, and finally Honorable Peter Oreru, who is the Member of Parliament of Kibra constituency. Actually, he also sits in the Education Committee of Parliament. So, and he has also been a principal before. So I want us to have that discussion immediately after this.
I love that panel.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will be unpacking that. I mean, education is the backbone of the nation, if you ask me. So it's something that should be looked into, and ensuring that, you know, every child, we need to ensure that every child gets that opportunity to go to school and not get locked out simply because they could not afford the education fees. Anyway, aside from education, we'll also be looking into matters agriculture, and today I will be having a conversation with one Alex Ngugi Wangeshi, PhD, who is an agroecologist, climate change resilience expert as well. And we will be talking about reshaping Africa's agricultural future. We'll be looking at how to go about utilizing advanced technologies to enhance crop productivity. So that is an interview that will be coming to you at around 8:30 a.m. As you've heard, we have a packed one, so you definitely want to stay with us until the end of this particular show. That is Good Morning Kenya. Did I introduce myself?
Can I
we have newcomers.
Can I introduce you, ladies and gentlemen? And now here we have one and only Vivian
Ndegwa is my name.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, how about we get this show on the road? I'm sure, Victor, you'll be getting into what has been highlighted on the different papers that you have with you right there.
But right about now, we take a very short break, just 1 minute, and we'll come back. I'm going to take you through the front page of our local newspapers, and then we get into the substantive discussion. Stay with us.
Sure.
right, welcome back. So let's come back to the discussion and talk about, let me take you through the front page of our local dailies. Let me start with the Daily Nation. The front page of the Daily Nation, Tanzania jobs ban hits Kenyans bad. That is Tanzania jobs ban hits Kenyans bad. That is what I have here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Dodoma's move to bar foreigners from select business in the country will affect thousands of Kenyans, with the Suluhu regime sanction infuriating local traders and MPs who have asked, actually, Nairobi to impose retaliatory measures. And now business activities prohibited for non-citizens, that is one, is repair of mobile phones and electronic devices, salon business unless conducted in a hotel or for tourism purposes. Number 3, you are not allowed to do tour guiding within the country, and brokerage of agency in business and real estate, and finally ownership and operation of micro and small industries. That is what is not allowed in the Tanzanian job market. Critics say that Dodoma's policy runs counter to provisions of East African Community Treaty. That is what is here on the front page. Again, Mishra fights off organ trafficking. That is charges. Hospital owner Swarup Mishra says that he's a victim of Kenya's lack of legal framework for organ donation, as he rejects claims that his facility paid kidney donors. That is something that has been going on for a bit of some time, and the parliamentary committee was sent to investigate the matter. Emotional return for man spared execution in Saudi Arabia. After 14 years of being locked up in Saudi Arabia prison, and with a long stretch of that time spent on death row, Stephen Munyaho, who is now popularly known as Steve-O, is back in the country on Kenyan soil. Steve-O's return early yesterday actually marked the end of a harrowing journey and the beginning of an emotional return to his motherland. Yes, 100 million shillings blood money had to be paid to secure his release. Catholic Church cash crunch now forces public schools to close early. That is what I have here, and that is going to be our discussion. And now learners will have a longer holiday after schools shut down a week earlier, with teachers citing shortage of funds from the government. You have it. That is going to be our discussion. Testing time for the education. Very quickly, on the front page of the Star, senators want real-time access to counties' money records. Governors under pressure to open up county accounts. There is that bit of it. That's the story on page, the front page, and it's fleshed out there for you on page 4 and 5. And finally, Sifuna cornered Israel and Top Guns rally behind President William Ruto. The ODM Central Committee yesterday held a meeting and made a number of resolutions unanimously as per that Central Committee. The story of, again, Steve-O back home is also here on the front page. But then yesterday there was a bit of some drama when MPs, pushed Police IG Kanja for blocking access to police payroll. And so there are a bit of some back and forth. And sometimes when you visit those committees and listen to MPs back and forth, it's always an interesting bit. Sudan condemns Kenyans as RSF names a parallel government. That is, again, what is here. But the big story is the senators want rural counties to give them access to money records. And yes, Steve-O is back home again. And Mishra says that he's ready to carry the cross for Medihill Hospital. Reprieve for Naivasha MP as court defers plea taking. Magistrate rule framed by the heat and demanding county cash trails. That now the court to open echoes of communities to NGO sparking outcry. Again, that is what I have here. Sifuna alone, as Raila, Odinga and ODM top guns stick with Ruto. Party meeting marks a shift in tone for Secretary General, who has criticized the pact. And now we are, well, just waiting to see how it's going to be. Law shielding Moi and Kenyatta wealth from taxes reviewed. All right. And Parliament is now set to review a controversial law exempting the estates of former presidents Jomo Kenyatta and Daniel Arap Moi from inheritance tax, formerly known as estate duty. Okay, IG Kanja under fire for blocking access to NPSC's payroll. Lawmakers accuse him of blatant violation of the law and a threat to transparency in the management of police welfare. It was a drama yesterday when the commission had sought the documents to facilitate audit process, and now the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee expressed outrage over Kanja's alleged insubordination, terming it as a blatant violation of the law. And yes, that is what I have here. And finally, cops get 35-year jail term for torturing man to death. That happened. Judge says that incident revealed a gross abuse of power by officers sworn to protect life. You know, something that is quite coincident here. The gentleman in question is, let me just put it, the backstory is the two police officers are now going to serve 35 years behind bars. After being found guilty of the brutal murder of a 31-year-old man at Mbururu Police Post in Kakamega County. The judgment was delivered by High Court Judge Robin Nyakundi. It is said that the two were convicted of murdering Dennis Lusava, a border rider and a farmer who left behind two young children. The accused persons are now accused of murdering the gentleman because of a mask, that he didn't wear a mask way back during the coronavirus pandemic. It's quite a coincidence. Yep, if you know what I'm saying. And finally, let me get you on the front page of the Standard newspaper, mortgaging Kenyans. That is, it's not even a question, just that. Just a statement, mortgaging Kenyans. And now, as President William Ruto's government rolls out a controversial securitization model to fast-track infrastructure, experts now warn that it is a financial time bomb, borrowing against future taxes, bypassing Parliament and risking constitutional breach. Critics call it reckless, opaque, and tantamount to mortgaging Kenya's future for short-term political optics. This is economic sabotage, according to what I have here, says one of former Treasury insider. You don't tax citizens today just to gamble with their borrowing tomorrow. So experts are now wondering if in this government officials deploying those schemes. So that's on the front page of the Standard. Mwalimu Sosian, you can also take a look at what I have on the front pages. I have my able panelists already in studio. Mwalimu Sosian, good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
He's a former NAT Secretary General, and I also have Akelo Misori, KUPPET Secretary General, and Honorable Francis Mwangangi, Deputy Governor of Machakos. We are taking a very short break, and we come back getting into some type of discussion, testing times for education. Stay with us.
Mimi ni Salim Mvurya, waziri wa masuala ya vijana, uchumi bunifu na michezo. CHAN imewasili Kenya. Na waomba Wakenya wote tuweze kujitokeza kwa wingi, tuweze kushabikia timu yetu ya Harambee Stars. Tiketi tunaweza kulipa shilingi 200, 500 na 1000. Na CHAN iko KBC Channel 1 na KBC Radio Taifa. Tukutane Kasarani. Kenya ni nchi yetu, Harambee Stars ni timu yetu. na sisi ni wazalendo wa Kenya.
Greetings in the name of the Most High Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
They say the earth without art would just be, get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best. From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kisioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. Okay, so my panel is now ably that all of us a product of good education. There's no doubt about that. And that is the only equalizer. And I'm happy that my panel is a good panel of people who know what education is all about, charged with responsibilities in different capacities to ensure that the leadership and education in this country is taken care of. And Mheshimiwa Pitorero also joining us. Mheshimiwa Pitorero is Member of Parliament of Bedroom? Bedroom, no, I want to Bedroom.
Yes, yes, yes.
Kibra constituency.
There you are.
Karibu sana. Good to see you.
Pleasure.
Then now we are getting into it. We are facing a situation. Mheshimiwa Pitorero is also a member of the Education Committee of Parliament and also a former principal. So we need to get into this very well. Now, the story I'm talking about is also, gentlemen, on the Daily Nation, and is packed on page 5 of the Daily Nation. So unfortunate that you don't have copies. Now, Education Cabinet Secretary blames education on ongoing financial realignments, quote unquote. And now public schools have closed a week earlier than scheduled due to delays in the release of government funds, throwing the academic calendar into disarray. That is one. And now raising concerns over preparations for national examination. Let me start with you, Mwalimu Sosion, Mheshimiwa, so that you can also help us to get this. First of all, welcome back and karibu sana to the program.
Yeah, thank you.
The situation in the country is, for lack of a better word, testing for the education system. Allow me to get your word on that.
Yeah, I think it was wrong to get mixed signals about what is happening in the education sector and what should happen.
Yes.
Kenya is a country that has fully subscribed to the provision of equitable, quality, public education, publicly funded education. And that is underpinned under Article 53 of the Constitution. It was a progressive aspiration to protect and codify the free primary education that was started by Kibaki, affordable secondary education, and gradually expanding access to higher education. And that's why Kibaki formatted every county to have a university. Some of the statements that came from some quarters of government were quite unfortunate. And that is not the position of government, it's not the position of the president, because the president is superintending education over a negotiated policy contained in the charter. And it's about enhancing more funding to education and ensuring that funding is directed to the right investment programs so that Kenyans can have value for their money. And when you look at this year's budget to education, it has gone up to 702 billion shillings. So what Mbadi should do at the Treasury, is to ensure that free education money is dispersed promptly on the 50, 30, 20 basis policy. Because the 50 on what is agreed, 50% is for first term, 30% for second term, and 20% during third term. That is the work of the Treasury, to collect revenue and disperse money to schools. What the Ministry of Education should do is to ensure that this money is properly audited in every school, because we've lacked accounting structures over the years. When Kibaki started free education, he established a tradition of proper auditing of money and public display and open transaction of these public resources. And I know the first audit firm that undertook to help schools in auditing was PricewaterhouseCoopers. And we should have this over time. And I've argued in this show that the Ministry of Education needs to revamp two areas. To strengthen the audit department and unit at the Ministry of Education, that is one. Two, to strengthen the quality assurance department. These two institutions, once they interact, will be able to guide in the proper investment programs at the school level. Take, for example, RMI. The RMI component within the capitation, of course, there's a school I'm working with, but in 1 year, they were able to save up to 18 million shillings. And right now, they're putting up a complete administration block and classrooms. And the capitation, both in primary and secondary, primary has remained completely low, and it needs to be reviewed. That is, and that advisory is at the Presidential Working Party in education reform. It needs to be reviewed upwards. The second is at 22, but the 22, it is agreed not all that 22 is wired, maybe 16 or less. Then the question begs, why are we not complying with the 50, 30, 20 policy? And this practice, laziness and abuse of this process started way back in 2017. So it has gone on over the, it's a practice that has been engaged in at the Treasury. And when it started, the audit system was weakened, so that really Kenyans don't understand what is happening, even in your nearby schools. It is not possible to know how much capitation was expected, how much was wired, and what has it done in the RMI, repair, maintenance, installation. Are we getting additional classrooms? Are we getting additional buildings? What has it done in other areas, in the areas of tuition? Are we getting labs properly equipped? Are we getting more books? Those are some of the things we need to look at, so that then moving into the future, there are certain areas that government may not need to invest in because things to do with infrastructure can be concluded, books and others, then you can direct the money to other needed areas.
Thank you.
There is a lot of work cut out, but there should be no debate in this country about funding of education.
But that is a big debate.
No, there should be no debate.
That is a big debate.
Body should disperse 50, 30, 20.
Thank you. That is a big debate. And
capitation agreed.
Honorable Mwangangi, the other day, around a day or two ago, you said that there is no money. And there's that clip, I wish we had it right now. But the big concern is there is no money trickling to education and in schools. What is your biggest concern? He says that the biggest concern should not be the capitation.
Thanks for the invitation and congrats. The countries and the continent is about to start these CHAN games. And you are the official broadcaster of the same. Congrats.
Thank you.
Matters education. It is a disaster today to have the kind of government that we have in place. And I'm saying without blinking my eye, because anything this government does or rather pronounces, they will end up doing the very opposite. We are wondering, as we sit here, this week, schools are closing. Why? Even capitation of last term, some schools have not received. Why are they closing early? Failure by the government to remit funds to schools. Many principals, many ed teachers cannot attend even village gatherings because of suppliers running after them because of what they have supplied to schools and they have not paid. This government, we are getting reports that there are ghost schools where the 700 plus billion, maybe where they are channeling to get the money, to steal as usual. So the policy, it started as a joke. And it is only that Kenyans we do forget so soon, so easily, that a while ago after this government came to power, they started as a joke. We could see lecturers in the streets, we could see students demanding for the release of the Higher Education Loans Board monies. The other day we had the CEO saying they do not have, they are lacking funds. And I don't know any country on earth that has developed without focusing on education. When President Kibaki wanted to grow this country, he introduced free primary and later secondary education. I expected personally, from where I sit, doesn't matter who the country's head is, by now we be talking about free university education, not reversing what has already been started. Yet, let it go down to record. And by the way, I can refer to Kenyans, because I know majority knows. Go to Central Bank website. You don't need Mbandi, because you will be accused of sabotaging the government. And see the amount this country has borrowed since they came to power up to now. No government previously has ever borrowed the way they have done. In terms of revenue collection, no government before has ever collected what this government has collected. Yet, I don't know the whole where they are putting this money. So, it is sad. And Kenyans are left wondering, do we believe the person seated where the money is, or do we believe politicians on top of vehicles, busy campaigning and doing useless empowerment programs across this country? When you see these people moving, in fact, that is the money. If you cut the ever, because they are ever renovating State House and such likes. If you cut that budget and this empowerment, where you are seeing over 10 helicopters, gaslers, going to crisscrossing to just go and pronounce total, that money is enough to finance our education sector in this country.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Pitorero, as a member of parliament and education committee member, where is the money?
You know, you are putting your question like education committee keeps money. But I think, thank you for inviting us here. You must give credit to the education committee because the last 3 weeks, we have been visiting various vital institutions of learning just to ensure that our kids from primary to university get a good education. We went to HELB, went to university funding, and we tried to interrogate the mean testing instrument, the variables and the parameters used, so that as our students will report, we expect they will be given enough funding. Now to come to this education. I think politicians, some people are taking this out of proportion. We need to look at really the budget lines, what was approved by a parliament to the Ministry of Education. I'm one of the people who raised this matter in the Education Committee. But looking at the explanation, the money was not ring-fenced. I went back and looked at budget estimates on education and found out that the capitation was about 54.6 billion Kenya shilling for education. And you remember also that after the budget estimates, there was outcry that the money for exams were also not put. So from that budget of 54 billion, I think also 5.9 billion was now allocated to the exams that will be done. And I also went and looked at the junior secondary and found out that we had about 30 billion for junior secondary, and we had 7.9 for primary, showing that primary will get about 1,400 Kenya shillings per student.
Yes.
Now, when we call the ministry, the Treasury CS and the CS for education, the explanation that we got from the CS is that he has already disbursed 50%.
When was that?
That was on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Monday?
Yes.
Today. That was last week. Yeah, that was last week. So, according to the money that was budgeted for and the certificate given to the Treasury by the National Assembly, the CS Treasury categorically told us that already he has given the 50% and 30% for this term. It is about now the money allocated for this capitation is not yet again the 50% and 30%. I think the money that has been now allocated for capitation is a bit less because it is 54 billion with over 3 million Kenyan students.
Yes.
But what we told the Ministry of Education is that they must have proper data of the number of students in this country so that the capitation money must also be given according to the number of students in this country. It must not be stagnant because you realize that from 2017, because I've been in this education system, there is no single time that we have disbursed 22,000 shillings to any school because I was a principal since 2017. But what we are saying is that for the first time, we asked how much money has been given because nobody else has ever told Kenyans that this is the amount that has been allocated as a capitation to either secondary or primary school. It has always been a lump sum. So for the last 7 years, I am on record on this, And it's not the first time that we have been asking this question. I've asked it many, many times, that really, would we know why the 22,000 that is always budgeted for by schools is never done? So it is only that this time the CS was a bit truthful to Kenyans. And when the headlines were, we saw the headlines from the newspapers, it is like it has been, the amount of money for education has been removed. No, it has not been removed. What the government needs to do, and you know, after that, I followed this up. I was with the president over the weekend about this, when he was pronouncing about this money.
Yes.
I also followed up and went and met the CS about this money of education. But what I can say that both of them told me that access to this education, they will ensure that the students have access, quality, and also realign these allocations that the Kenyan kids can get the education that they deserve. So I don't think that the money has gone. I think it is the allocation of this money which is important for the Kenyans to know.
Yes.
Because when the money has been, when we have the budget estimates, as the National Assembly, we have certificates for this, so that we know this is the amount given to the education. It is upon the Ministry of Education. And you know, when the money comes from the Treasury, it goes to the Ministry of Education. So it is upon the Ministry of Education to ensure prudent utilization of resources that they receive from the Treasury.
Okay.
And the reallocation, so that our kids in both in primary and secondary get the required disbursement and promptly on time.
There is that aspect you said that it's 22,000 shillings, but there is no record showing that 22,000 shillings has been paid to any student. I don't know which figure is always reflected in students' accounts. You'll have to answer that later. But then, Mwalimu Okello Misori, listening to the three gentlemen, and based on also the records that we've received from Mheshimiwa here, what is your take on this?
I think it is a sorry state of affairs to begin with, and to say that from the explanation of from Mheshimiwa Orero, it appears that the Ministry of Education is a crime scene, and there is a collusion between Treasury and the Ministry of Education. Because if for 7 years no money has been, no target of 22,000 shillings has been met over this period, it means that that is a crime scene. We ought to have seen top government agencies dealing with criminal activities descend on the ministry and to find out where the problem is. Because how do we expect students, you know, the 22,000 shillings was, the allocation of 22,000 shillings was begun in 2013. And currently, we ought to have seen a progressive growth of this allocation go even to 32,000 or 42,000, for example, because we have had exponential increase in the cost of living over that period. And in the event that we are having a parliament, we are also having responsible government officers in the name of CSS, in the Ministry of Education and Treasury. Who keeps the data? So that we have just allocation, that 54 billion has been granted. And why is it not moving to 74, given the fact that annually we have got increase in the number of learners in early childhood education? Who keeps this data? The planning department of the Treasury itself is supposed to be seized with all the facts about the number of learners we have. The Ministry of Education needs to be giving a feedback that this is the trend of our growth, because they have these figures from school.
Yes.
And in fact, Mheshimiwa Mwangangi has brought in another dimension, that there are ghost schools. I don't want to even to subscribe to that kind of imagination. Because why, if it is, there are ghost schools and they receive resources, why don't we have a report from the crime department that this is something which has been reported, and these are this is where the government is losing resources, so that we can provide education based on the need, because according to Article 53 of the Constitution, the right of the child, Kenyans decided to have free and compulsory education.
Yeah.
And therefore, we need to fund it. There should not be debate like what Mheshimiwa Sosion is talking about. We should not have a debate about this, because it is in the Constitution that we must have free and compulsory education in Kenya. The policies must be developed. And the oversight is our parliament. We should not have a desperate situation where the education committee, where Mheshimiwa Orero sits, saying that we have always asked this question. What have they done about it? I've never had this kind of debate on the floor of parliament violently canvassed that we need to interrogate what the Auditor General is saying about the ministry and its expenditure record, and the ghost school system where we are losing resources. Why must we discuss prudent expenditure issues? Take note that, you know, we are talking about 22,000 shillings, and Honorable Mbadi has revealed that they have been disbursing on 16,000 shillings. What Mheshimiwa Orero has failed to tell us is that even that 17 or 16,000 did not reach schools. The schools actually got 11,000 shillings. That is the latest record. And even when Honorable Mbadi is saying that he has already disbursed 50%, that is a total lie. He is one person who was given as a total lie. Because this term is second term. This term, the schools received part of what was supposed to be disbursed last term.
Okay.
They did not receive any disbursement for this term, for example. That is the truth. And that is what's the most of our principals and head teachers fear to talk about this. We have a school just 2 kilometers away from KBC, which was stopped. They had been given a number of students to accommodate, and a parent went to court to challenge the extra levies that the schools charge. Those are issues which are there.
Okay.
Mheshimiwa has alluded to the fact that the many heads of schools fear going to the local functions because they are going to be attacked by suppliers. I think somebody must be responsible. I don't think this should be responsible. I don't think this is something which we should. We should not take this one to the desk of the president.
Yeah.
We should not take this. Somebody must take responsibility, because you cannot expect the president to be the one giving assurance to Kenyans when taxpayers have already given their money to Treasury, and Treasury has given the money to the Ministry of Education, and the ministry has not disbursed.
Yeah.
We cannot talk about a crime scene that we are using soft gloves to punch the Ministry of Education.
So who is speaking the truth? When the CS says there's no money, Mheshimiwa Sosion, when the CS says there's no money, he even appeared before a committee yesterday in Parliament. There is no money, as yesterday but one, and then the president said over the weekend there is money where Mheshimiwa Orero was.
No, that is irresponsibility from a minister. And I think for once, those vested with responsibilities at the ministries must do the right things. We don't need to have the president coming in to intervene and set the record straight. anybody trying to talk about reducing capitation per student, I think is creating unnecessary trouble. And I'm telling you, Victor, since 2013, I have seen casualization of the education sector in this country and mismanagement. As of 2013, Kenya, in global competitiveness in terms of quality delivery and access, we were number one. But today, you go check with the facts. We are not anywhere near number 10 in Africa. That is in Africa. When we are here arguing about how to disperse 50% for first time, I think we must be insane. It is not the right thing to do. We should not be talking about government as at now has dispersed 50% of the capitation. The policy is clear. 50% first term per student. Per student. Today, this date, if schools have not closed, we will know school attendance all over the country by a stroke of the pattern through NEMIS or CHEMIS. So these arguments of budgeting, global budgeting, that this is for capitation is 54 billion. That 54 billion should be arrived at by computing allocation per student. So it is based on the number of learners who attend school, and they are known. For me, I indict 3 groups. One, I indict the Minister of Education. They are not auditing, they are not quality assuring schools, and the question is, they have to convince the country that they've supplied such data to the Treasury effectively. Let us call a spade a spade. And here, let us divorce these things from politics, Mwangangi, and everything that you want to link it to an individual. Let us discuss education as a common good for the country, and who should do what, and who is not doing it. So, Minister of Education. Treasury. Treasury don't need to give us stories. Their business is to collect money and disperse. Our economy is growing. We are now at 22% GDP. The president has worked hard. The economy is stable. And so as the economy grows, there must be the relative growth in allocation to education. We are at 702 billion. Then Orero's team in Parliament never allow global allocation of capitation money when you are budgeting. Budget against the numbers. And you should be able to predict that the numbers will go up to this in 2026. We should be able to project as a country the expected enrollment in 2026, 2027, so that even in the medium-term expenditure framework, that is factored. So Parliament owes an explanation to the country in terms of allocation of money. So the story of global allocation should not arise. It should be per student.
Without Parliament,
and
they would not have
allow me
known
to
this.
give him a minute. Allow me to give him a
I
minute
still repeat
for a rebuttal.
And it's good you give us that data. Not necessarily rebuttal, but we are clarifying these issues for the good of the country, so that we don't pick it again, use it for political expenses.
Let's get from
so I
Mheshimiwa.
still repeat. Disperse. Treasury should disperse 50% first term. Term 1 begins in January up to early April. So all 50% of capitation, there is a policy, Akelo Missouri. That policy is there. And we should not negotiate policies that have been adopted. We should insist that we comply with policies.
Thank you.
Release 50%.
Thank you.
Second term, second term, 30%.
Hold your
Third term, 20%.
Hold your horses.
And that is what Parliament should ensure, that the ministries are complying with that provision.
Can you give him a minute to also for a rebuttal, Mheshimiwa? You've been accused that you're not doing your role as Parliament, but then now, let's bring it back home, the Education Committee.
Unless somebody is insane, we have the most robust education committee ever. And if it was not robust, these things will not be coming out. I think as education committee, we have done our oversight role. And I also congratulate. Misora is the Secretary General of KUPPET.
Yes.
And when we were interrogating the CS of Treasury, his own chairman was with us in that committee.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's a speaker. Okay.
He's in the speaker's panel. Mm-hmm. And also put his case very, very clearly about this. And any form of imagination, prognostication, or any iota of thinking that the National Assembly is not doing its role is misplaced. Because without the National Assembly, we will not be where we are.
It is you flagged out.
So, yeah, we flagged it.
It is a forum that body was able to reveal
this
certain facts. So I think we give them...
Give us credit where it is. Okay. But only that we don't need...
Do your work.
We need to do our work, but we don't need to seriously politicize this as Kenyans. We only need to investigate, try to find out, and ask why. But you see, after this, many politicians have taken this and have said that there is no money for education. It's like that education is not completely funded.
Yeah.
That is far from.
So what is the real truth? Because students are going to be home for the next 1 month instead of 3 weeks. Yeah. Just a minute, Mheshimiwa. Just a minute.
I think it's about what you say. First, congrats for bringing it out. But I need also to maybe withdraw the same congratulatory message. Why? This week, schools are closing early. Fact. Why? Lack of resources. I do not agree or understand what Honorable Sosioni and Honorable Orero are insinuating, or what they mean when they say we should not bring these issues like we are bringing politics into that into what we are discussing. I think, Victor, we need to be serious. I'm very serious. Whatever I've brought here is fact after a fact. It's not politics. In any case, it is actually the ODM wing of this government that is telling us this, and then the UDA part of it are saying what they are saying. And then we are now trying to accuse Bandi of stating facts as they are. It is a fact that schools have not been given their capitation. Underline it. It's not politics. It is a fact. Number two, it is the responsibility of our national parliament through the education committee to oversee, because that is their constitutional mandate, to ensure our schools are functioning smoothly and the resources are sent to these institutions. Now, Honorable Sosion, when there is a lot of resources to fly politicians from one corner of the country to the other, what do you want me to say when our education system is suffering? And it is a fact. These people, they have resources to their disposal. I think, to be serious, because we have so many educated population, and it is in the resources these politicians are carrying money in sacks. We call a meeting. They come there and tell can do that kind of business to get money. We are discussing education. It's very serious. It has got nothing to do with the politics.
My argument was when you bring in political activities of politics, we lose focus in objectively discussing what we have. Because Treasury does not pass money for politicians and for political activities. I think let's be serious. Let us not trivialize this discussion. You can have another forum to discuss that differently. But what we are talking about here is who really budgets the money. The National Assembly budget according to the number of learners and as per the agreed rates. The rates are now known, 22,240 per child in secondary school, senior school.
So where's the
16,000 in JS, 1,400 in primary. So those numbers should be budgeted and confirmed by Parliament. Treasury should raise money and disperse as per policy. The ministry should audit and ensure it works and it has the correct.
So let's get the
That's
figure.
what we are talking about.
What
when we
Sonia
concentrate on that,
is what is supposed to happen, but it has not happened.
When the DG here takes an advantage to take us to another agenda of politics, I think for me, I'll restrain myself. Let us discuss education as education.
I'll ask this
and let's
question.
discuss our taxes as our taxes.
Thank you.
And they must be remitted to school.
You know,
politics, please go and discuss them in
before Honorable Mwangangi came in, Mheshimiwa Orero was on the floor of the House submitting. But the question is, so what is the real situation? 22,000 or 16,000?
You know, that is an obvious fact that, in fact, it's not 16,000.
Yeah.
It is 16,900.
So
that is
roughly
the real, roughly is almost 17,000.
Yeah.
The explanation that is there is that we have had increase in the number of students. Because when we have the block budgeting, saying that maybe we have 54 billion for capitation.
Yeah.
Or we say that education is 702 billion. What we need to do is to ring fence these monies. If we say that this per student, we need to ring fence this money per student so that it is not used in any other activity. We know that the number of students in this country, maybe now they have gone to 3.5 million. And that is the high school.
Yes.
Junior secondary. Like we need to ring fence. If it is 30 billion, and approximately they require 44 billion. We need to ring fence that money and say this money can only be used for junior secondary school. And for primary, which is 1,400, total to about 7.9 billion, we also ring fence this money. So that when we disburse 50%, we disburse 50% of the already ring fenced money for this education.
And during first term.
I think that is, these are some of the
steps. At what stage should that happen?
You know, during the budget estimates.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to do this during the budget estimates.
Okay.
And after issuing the certificate from the National Assembly to the ministry, we should not have anybody interfering with the already ring-fenced money for education. But when it is left that it is a block budgeting, that it has not been ring-fenced, you might find that some amount of money can be moved. Like now, we moved about 5.9 billion to cater for examination.
Yeah.
Yet during the budget, which passed through the National Assembly, the money for examination was not budgeted for. So, you know, it is interfering with the money maybe meant for capitation or infrastructure. Now, this is what should not happen. We should strictly adhere to the budget estimates. And before it is even passed, we need to actually find out that this capitation money, is it going to be ring-fenced or is it going to go to other vote heads?
A very good proposal there, and I think you have a lot of work to do in Parliament. Those are very good proposals. Akelo Misori was just looking at you and smiling. Why are you smiling?
I'm smiling.
You know, he was my colleague. You know, we were compared together.
I'm smiling because I am not trusting what Honorable Orero is saying, that there is also another policy of ring fencing. I don't understand that. Because if the budget lines are drawn and known, that is how you come up with 54 billion. You cannot just say we have got 60 billion or 54 billion for what? If it is 44 billion for junior secondary school and 7 billion for primary, then it is already known that is there. Then even arriving at 44 billion for junior school or for secondary school education, it was based on the element of the fact that it was going to do this infrastructure is this much, recurrent expenditure is this much, and so on.
Okay.
I think that is why I was smiling. But again, all said, I agree with what Honorable Sosion is saying, that let us not mix issues. If we are discussing education and what affects it, let us just go straight to this. I would want us to discuss and dissect the crime scene where there is collusion between Treasury and the Ministry of Education.
Can you just hold that thought?
In terms of concealing data,
yes,
which is supposed to be used for disbursement.
Thank you. Yeah. Hold that thought. Yeah. Let's take a break. I want to fill Sosion's cup. His cup is empty. We are coming back to talk about this. Stay with us.
Wakenya wenzangu, this August, something big is happening. Chan 2024 is here and Harambee Stars are ready to shine. Let us come together and support our boys as they fight for glory. Tune in to KBC Channel 1 and let's cheer our boys. Because when Harambee Stars win, Kenya wins. Twende kazi, Team Kenya all the way.
I have a family as well, as you know, and this is not the kind of reception I expected from you.
And now that you've seen them, can't you just leave?
Jenny mkora, hata unajua.
Stop yelling.
Oh, ana overreact. Wewe ufanya tu vile vyote unataka alafu babako ana overreact, si ndio? Unasikiza history yangu mama?
No, just stop it.
How many times do you want me to say I'm sorry?
You think it's easy?
Yaani nishinde nikitana jina yako huko kote na unisikii.
So unashinda ukishao tunakuwa na namba yangu.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. So let's get into it. Testing time for the education system, but we need to mark it very well so that we can have a distinction in the education system. Mwalimu Akilo Misori, you say that there's a crime scene somewhere.
A crime scene is in the Ministry of Education, because we expect the Ministry of Education to be on top of things in terms of keeping the number of learners who are exiting and who are coming in to be funded by the public. In the event that they have not provided this data, then that is the import of what Honorable Bunbari was saying, that we have had a number of, the budget based on the number of students whom, when you calculate the average, then you cannot disburse 22,000 shillings 200. You must just disburse 16,000. Who has provided this data? And with what intent? We have got a very fatigued system in the Ministry of Education, which has created a lot of corrupt practices. And that is why Honorable Mwangagi was saying that they are ghost schools. The fact that they are hiding information, they are not giving the right information to be factored in the budget, is the reason for which there is confusion. I would be inviting DCI to descend on the Ministry of Education.
Do you have enough teachers as COPET?
The teachers so far, I think that is an issue which we need to applaud the current government. Because in the history of this country, because Honorable Sosion is here, I know he's now happy that I'm supporting what he really lobbied for. For us to, in 2 years, to have 76,000 teachers employed, it is unprecedented and it must be lauded. What now remains is to keep the comfort of the same teachers through a motivated process that they will not stagnate in their promotions and so on. But we are not yet there on the number of students who are supposed to discharge quality education in this country. We still have quite a number of teachers who qualify to be in the system. Another issue which is there is that the number of these teachers who have been employed in recent times ceased to be teachers long time ago because they were employed after being out from college for a number of 8 years, 10 years, and so on. They are no longer teachers. We needed to have a program also to retool them, to remind them of what they learned in college. Yes.
Okay.
So you can be having those numbers, but are they the right numbers to discharge quality education? So those are the things which must also be factored in the education budget.
Thank you. What do you want to say, Mheshimiwa?
Before we forget about data, data is important, and not just data, quality data. And this brings to fore a department called planning. And it reminds me of what I saw in Malaysia, the Ministry of Education, planning department.
Yeah.
Planning department is the engine of the education sector. And I think this country needs to strengthen the planning department at the ministry that conducts quality research from time to time and assembles data that is right. Because when we talk of, oh, this is what we have been doing from 2017, and you are telling us in 2025, that is a cool 8 years. So we have been messing up with education for 8 years, and the arguments are that we are not accurate about numbers. The Ministry of Education developed what he called NEMIS, which has now been upgraded to KEMIS. It's National Education Management Information System. Now it's Kenya Education Management Information System.
Which has,
they
are not stated, they are intending to use it.
But I'm talking about data. You cannot allocate money to a ministry that does not have data. And I think the argument of data should not be an excuse. It should be removed off the table. Why are we messing up with data rather than using the data to execute clear programs? Let me say, Victor, Kenya is able to predict the number of students next year and plan in its budget. Kenya is able to predict the number of students in 2027, in 2028, 2029. We should be able to project even the teacher requirement in 2030 and begin planning for 2030. We should be doing what you call forward planning and implementing as we move, but we cannot be reacting in retro. Now you take the whole country back to 2017. That is wrong, and no wonder. And I made lots of noise about these ragtag education reforms during my time as SG, and I warned the country that some of these programs that are being implemented are more business flagships, and the country was no longer interested in protecting and safeguarding the delivery of quality education. And this is what must be corrected now and today. If we were number one in global competitiveness in Africa, in access and quality in 2013, and down by 2025, we are below number 10. And we are trying to come up. The efforts, we can see, they are palpable. The teacher question is being handled. The curriculum review issues are being handled. It is a mess that was too much. It was way out of this world. And to correct it is going to take time. And that is why when you call us into this show, allow us really to deal with the very specific cogent and cardinal issues about education, and we talk about them. And I still insist, Parliament should, let us not even talk about ring fencing. Parliament Education Committee, you should be privileged to be given all this data, and you supervise and oversight the ministry using this data. And there should be no reason why Treasury can sit pretty when they have not even dispersed the 50%. That is violating the very policy that was developed by government of dispersing 50% first term is first term, and it should go out in first term. Disperse 30% second term, and it should go out in second term. So that right now, we should be talking about free education money being dispersed at 80% as we are seated here. So the excuses of delays, education should be treated with the prime attention, just like security.
Yeah.
The security of the country is in education. And so anything to do with education should not be an item of cheap negotiation and excuses here and there. So education should be handled meticulously and clearly.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Mwangangi, before you come in, let me just ask Mheshimiwa Orero this question. So what should parents look for or look at when the schools reopen next term? An increment in extra school fees paid by the parent, or the regular and verified school fees, the capitation?
You are asking me like I was the Minister for Education. Me, I do the oversight role as a Member of Parliament. That the policies and implementations of the Ministry of Education are done at the ministry level. So what we expect is that the Ministry of Education must come out and assure parents that the money for capitation will be in schools before they open.
Yes.
I think that is what we need to be assured, so that as the parents bring back their students in school, they should come knowing that their students will have enough money to sustain them until the end of third term. That is, that capitation of 20% for the third term should be released on time, so that the school,
with arrears.
And if there are arrears in each school, they should also be released, so that all the money meant for capitation in whichever school should be disbursed before the students come back. At this juncture, normally, the all schools budget at the beginning of every financial year through the board of management, and it is this fee structure is already given to parents. I don't think it is at this moment they will be able to change the school fees, because what they only need to change is the remittance, all remittance of the capitation that is required in school, and if there are arrears, the ministry should be able to remit, so that schools come and run properly. That is what we expect at policy level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mheshimiwa Mwangangi, a few days ago, the Council of Governors, probably if you may be privy to this information, is that they also raised concern over the capitation, the physical bit of it. How is it influencing the running of the counties?
One, the counties give bursaries. And because education is the perfume of the national government, we were directed those specific counties who have set aside a budget line for bursaries, they need to sign something with the national government so that what they are doing is something that will not raise these audit queries or be used by some crooked persons to misappropriate resources at that level. And then what we were saying is, face it, as a country we are facing a serious challenge when it comes to financing of our education sector. And our bosses, the governors, have a feeling that these parents are the same parents who elected national government, who elected county leadership. So whenever they are suffering, we cannot claim to be progressing well as a county if the people who elected us are suffering. I agree with my fellow panelists that we need to do everything possible to ensure we implement the policies that promote free education in this country. I'm saying once again, it is sad that post Kibaki, we are still not talking about, we are still talking about financing of our education sector. Today, it is my personal belief that education in this country should be quality, should be free. Because when you look at, although we are saying we strain ourselves to matters education, but it is about resources. If you see a policy that is encouraging waste, that is promoting theft of public resources, that should be going to this, what we are discussing today, it must be called out. And that's why we are saying, from where I sit, that we need, you have asked a very good question, that what do parents expect as schools reopen? It is a fact, they are closing early due to lack of resources in institutions. It is also a fact that Kenyan taxpayers are highly taxed. Okay? And then this is affecting the pay slips of the same parent who is now expected. By the way, many schools, as students are being sent fee structure. That fee structure, in case the government is not going to foot that bill, the parent will be expected to pay. I think this is a very important topic we are discussing today. It is about the future of this this country. And I have a feeling that the government should focus on implementing the policy that exists. The issue of 50% at the start, yes, is a good policy. But you are expected to pay in advance everything. So as much as we are advocating 50% at the start, we should be thinking as a country, how do we ensure remittance, full amount of that specific term at the start of the term, so that schools can be in a position to plan how to go about leading these institutions, so that as a country we have a better quality education.
Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I want us to do this. The question I want to ask you, Mheshimiwa Mwalimu Akelo Misori, has CBC impacted anyway in the school capitation?
To a large extent, it has also affected, it has been affected, and it has affected the capitation itself. Because there are supposed to be certain requirements which are being fixed by the capitated amounts.
Yes.
So that one has really affected the disbursement, which is irregular, has really affected the implementation in itself.
Okay.
So that's a fact. Yes. So when we talk about going forward, as other panelists would also admit, we have to fix what is not working. And I'm just repeating that it is simple that we have to keep a reliable quality data to be used in the disbursement. We cannot sit in comfort when somebody does not want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
We need to stop now passing blame when we know the culprits. The culprits are only operating in two places, in the Ministry of Education and the Ministry at the Treasury. If the Treasury fails to disperse money early to the Ministry, and if the Ministry fails to give the correct data, then we are likely not to have achieved this. And with me, I'm painting a very gloomy picture to our parents as they let them prepare to put the bill. Because already we have had a lot happening. Just this year, a judgment was came from our courts against a school which charged extra levies because of the need to accommodate more students who were actually given to them by the same government to accommodate, and with no attendant resources to facilitate their stay in that school. The courts have pronounced themselves that you cannot charge extra levies. In that event, it therefore follows that if we have ineffective disbursement process from Treasury to the Ministry and the Ministry to schools, then the parents must take the burden to foot the bill. That is a fact. We must also look at other options going forward. That is it viable to continue having the schools in the current structure of boarding, day school and so on? We must start thinking and discussing as a nation that we need to move away from boarding, which has made the schools to be so expensive to manage. Because the schools being run as boarding entities are very expensive to manage.
In fact, as Kuppet, you've really been running about this one.
They are very expensive to manage. So the government must open a forum for us to negotiate how we must run our schools. Such that learners can walk to the nearest school and which provides education which is standard everywhere. And then we stop the classification of our schools to accommodate this kind of thought.
So Sion wants to respond to something. I'll treat that as your closing remark.
I'm not responding, but I'm just advancing the cost of CBC. Because I argued previously, when I directed various research studies on rollout of CBC, that the country must sit and discuss the economics of CBC. It was brushed by Matiang'i and Magoha. But you agree, this administration has had to bear a huge burden of new costs in relation to CBC. Because in grade 7 in 2023, the first cohort in grade 7 had their capitation move up from 1,400 to 15,000. That alone is billions and billions of shillings. And this 2024, it moved to grade 8, to grade 9. And that's new 15,000 shillings per student. That tells you the marginal increase in terms of capitation has really gone up. And who pays for that? It is still the taxpayer. I don't support reintroduction of indirect charges as a mitigation measure for late remittances to parents. That burden should never be passed to parents. And nobody should contemplate that kind of a thought. We don't need to do that. Let's put our systems clean and right to work and spare the parents, because the child's right has been protected in the Constitution. And if you pass it to parents, you are essentially telling the learners to pay. And that is gross violation of the Constitution, not even a law, the Constitution itself as it stands.
But
so
who fills the gap? Who fills the gap for the failure for disbursement?
There should be no gap, and we should not entertain failure. Money should be disbursed. This is not a poor economy. This is an economy that does well, and this is an economy that can raise taxes. And why did we agree on 50% and agreed on certain amount per student? If that is agreed and it is government policy, you don't operate outside government policy. Then number two, the cost of education per child should be reviewed periodically. That we should be able to discuss in 2025 the cost of education in primary, the cost of education in junior, the cost of education in secondary, strictly with respect to tuition and teachers. The issues to do with boarding, those are extra unnecessary luxuries. Kenya should have worked out of boarding systems as of now, so that then, or reduced it substantially. And it has, because 24% of Kenyan learners in secondary schools are in boarding. 76% are day scholars. So I think the country should continue injecting resources and elevating quality outcomes in day secondary school. Kenya should invest heavily in day education. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to be serious. And I think we are becoming a little bit lazy in the approach to education, even in how we argue. When we argue that because of delayed disbursements, let us now revise the fee structure and transfer it to parents. I think that's very naive. It has no place.
Is there hope for the parents come next time?
I believe there should be hope.
Yes.
Because I engage the CS myself. And also in my opening remark, I said we are also with the president and talked about this education. We believe that for this country to move forward, the priority should be in the education sector. And you can see the kind of heat that it has generated within this short time, 1 week. So for a good government, one thing they must do is to ensure that by the time these children and students are coming back, they need to have the full capitation in school accounts. I think with that we'll be making
complete with arrears.
We will be making progressive advancements in terms of education management in this country, and this is the only thing that I can do to Kenyans. Kenyans still believe that it is only education which equalizes people. As a country, our first priority, just as my colleague had said, education and security, they should go hand in hand. The way we give priority to security is the same way we must give priority to education. So that just saying that without education we could not be here where we are, all of us. So we need to give quality, access, and good education. They come back, they should find the capitation money in their accounts. Yes.
Thank you.
I think, Victor, today I'm the happiest person because of the panel that you have brought. And at least Mwashimorero and the Sosion are in agreement. The government is not doing what it is supposed to do. And at least gone as far as plan which is there. Now, when it comes to financing education, this is very important. Victor, this is very important. I think if we are honestly, if we are to prosper as a country, if we were to transform this country from developing to developed, education must be at the center of everything that we do. I agree. We need continuous review of our policies, especially when it comes to quality of education and budgeting of the same. It is always good that we be current. If you go to Minister of Education, and there is something that has slipped out of our discussion here, something that came out strongly from a question that was raised by Mwashimorero. That is, 50% of the monies were given from Treasury to Minister of Education. Yet, from the Minister of Education to schools, you cannot trace that money. And it is the reason why, because of lack of these monies, is the reason schools are closing early. I agree something needs to be looked into on a serious note. On a serious note, something needs to be looked into. And I request Mheshimiwa who raised this national debate, and thanks for that, to still dig in and ask what really happened. Because this is a serious, whoever is behind this is playing with the future of this country. And we need to be serious when it comes to education. This is not a political issue. This is a serious issue, which every Kenyan, every leader must address himself or herself into it, because it is a serious matter. It is where the future of this country lies. Thank you.
Okay, the money was released, but there's a gap somewhere. The money from the Treasury to schools. Gentlemen, I think that's a very good point to wrap it up. I have to thank all of you for coming to the show. The last person who spoke is Honorable Francis Mwangangi, Deputy Governor of Machakos County. Thank you so much for coming to the show. Mwalimu Akilo Misori, who is a corporate Secretary General. You'll still have to tell us next time the transition and the promotion of teachers. You've been really fighting for that, equality, accountability, and so much more. But that one we'll save for another time. Thank you for coming. And Mheshimiwa Sosion, former NAT Secretary and also nominated MP. And well, as a Member of Parliament, Kibra constituency, Peter Orero. Gentlemen, asanteni sana for coming. And from them, you can be assured as parents and students that as we start next term, in a month's time, that there will be money in schools. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Lo. Good morning.
Wakenya wenzangu, this August, something big is happening. Chan 2024 is here, and Harambee Stars are ready to shine. Let us come together and support our boys as they fight for glory. From the first whistle to the last goal, let us cheer loud and proud. Tune in to KBC Channel 1 and let's cheer our boys. Because when Harambee Stars win, Kenya wins. Twende kazi, Team Kenya all the way.
Looking to advertise on KBC? KBC announcement services are now available on eCitizen. Visit kbc.ecitizen.go.ke and fill out the online application form. It's simple. 1. Complete the form. 2. Upload required documents. 3. Receive a quotation based on word count. And 4. Get notified via SMS when your announcement is ready. Please note, clearly indicate the type of announcement, service station, and all relevant details. 2. All applications must be made online only. Manual submissions will not be accepted. And 3. Announcements will air after news bulletins. For assistance, reach us on email ecitizen@kbc.co.ke or use our social media handles, Facebook, your Facebook account, and X at your X account. Or you can call us on 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124. KBC announcements. Simple, fast, and digital.
Friday night again. Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest, each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Kila mwisho wa juma hapa katika runinga yako ya KBC Channel 1 tunakuletea Mkulima.
Mkulima ni kipindi cha kila mtu. Mkulima mdogo, mkubwa, mnunuzi, muuzaji na pia anayenuia kuanza kilimo.
Kuanzia kwa mbinu bora na za kisasa za kilimo, ufugaji,
kukupa fursa za biashara, kuongeza dhamana hadi teknolojia zinazorahisisha kilimo.
Mkulima kisasa inakupa wewe maarifa, motisha na suluhu za kukuza mazao,
kuongeza kipato na pia kulisha taifa kwa jumla.
Tunafeed nchi, tunafeed watoto wetu na tunafeed Europa na tunaweka pesa mfukoni.
Tazama Mkulima kila Jumamosi saa 10:30
kwenye runinga ya taifa.
Mkulima, tuko hapa kwa ajili yako,
ambapo fursa na kilimo zinapatana.
Mimi ni Salim Mvurya, waziri wa masuala ya vijana, uchumi bunifu na michezo. Chan imewasili Kenya. Na waomba Wakenya wote tuweze kujitokeza kwa wingi, tuweze kushabikia timu yetu ya Harambee Stars. Tiketi tunaweza kulipa shilingi 200, 500 na 1000. Na Chan iko KBC Channel 1 na KBC Radio Taifa. Tukutane Kasarani. Kenya ni nchi yetu, Harambee Stars ni timu yetu, na sisi ni wazalendo wa Kenya.
And here we are, on to our next conversation. And as promised, we will be talking matters agriculture. To be specific, we are looking at how Africa's agricultural future is being reshaped this far, and we will be narrowing it down to utilizing advanced technologies to enhance crop productivity. And joining me for this conversation is one Alex Ngugi Wangeshi, PhD, and he is an agroecologist, climate change resilience expert, and principal lab analyst of KEFIS. So it is a pleasure for us to have him here so that he can be able to tell us more on how we are advancing in technology matters, crop productivity in Africa and in Kenya as well, to be specific. So welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on board.
Yeah.
All right, when we talk about advancements in technology, we know that technology has advanced across different aspects, you know, and different industries as well, and agriculture being one of them. So what does the future of agriculture look like at the moment?
Yeah, so agriculture is growing, it's evolving. We are not where we would like to be yet, but there are steps clearly from government interventions, also from private sector investments, and even the farmers themselves. So one thing about Africa is that we hold a lot of uncultivated land. So to be specific, it's estimated that 60% of global arable land that's uncultivated, that's the potential hasn't been tapped, is actually in Africa. So what does that mean? It means that we have the potential to actually utilize this space. We have the potential to also apply technology to advance agricultural systems. And now coming down or focusing on Kenya is that for the longest time, I remember when I was growing up, we used to say, ukulima ni uti wa mgongo, the backbone of the economy, right? But I think over time that has slowly dissipated with the youth, of course, favoring white-collar jobs and, of course, rural-urban migration. So there has been a phase where sort of like agriculture has been forgotten. But slowly we are coming back because people have realized that we need to keep feeding, we need to feed the growing population, and we are not producing more land. So we still have the same earth or land mass that we have. So what that needs to be done is intensification. And a better term to say that is sustainable intensification. Because if you continue producing without caring for the environment, at some point you reach somewhere that you're either degrading your environment and then having more negative impacts than even the positives of the food. So yeah, it's an interesting phase where we are also seeing people leading innovations that are reducing the input costs, thereby making it even more lucrative, and even embracing data to inform production, to make sure that in as much as we want to make money, we are doing it sustainably and making it as a business. So we are moving from agriculture as not just a way of life, as a business that's employing also technology.
Yeah, and you've mentioned, you know, that, agriculture has dissipated in a way simply because now more young people are looking at white-collar jobs and, jobs surrounding that area and not agriculture. So how do we make agriculture maybe appealing to the younger generation? Do you feel like there's a way we can actually make it appealing to the younger generation so that we have more youth wanting to be part of, farming and agriculture?
For sure, for sure. The youth, of course, need to be motivated to get into it. One way is showing them that it's not just something you do to pass time or as a way of life just because you saw your parents doing it, but as a business that's led by a conscious decisions to actually embrace things like technology to make money. So when we say about the youth, I like to group them as probably millennials, the Gen Zs, the upcoming Gen Alphas, right? So it's more about making them see and forcing technology to actually be in it. And there are various ways of doing it. We still have the evolving world of AI where people can actually have apps and things like that telling them what to do. But also, there are even, before you even do it, you can even integrate it in education. The previous speakers were talking about the education status at the moment, but this is where we also need to see how can we introduce, I know we have agriculture as a subject in primary and high school, but how do you inject this way of agriculture as a business, not just as a side hustle, and making them see that when they get out there, they can be employers themselves, engaging in business as a farming. You can even have cool stuff like agrotourism, where you take them to farms that are technologically well equipped, or even people doing simple things, but then having very, very nice output. And agriculture is not just crops, it's even animals, and even producing things for medicinal purposes and things like that. So yeah, there's a huge, and it has to be packaged in a way that they understand. Right now they're on TikTok, they're on social media, Instagram.
Exactly.
So you need to embed in those and show the cool stuff, because agriculture, it's also very therapeutic. So when you engage in, and if you can do it as a business, also embracing this leveraging on technology, then why not? They will jump into it if it makes sense.
Yeah, and it should be a good way in curbing the unemployment issue in the country, because we have more than, I guess, 60% of unemployed youth at the moment. So I agree with you that it's a gap that is there, and as you put it, it's quite lucrative if you go into it as a business opportunity. Now, as we get to look at ways that we're utilizing advanced technologies to enhance crop productivity, probably just get to talk about crop productivity a bit. When we talk about crop productivity, what are we looking at?
So you're looking at, of course, growing plants, and then you have a target output. That will be your harvest, right? But I always try to talk about crop production and starting it from the inception, or looking at your primary input. What are you starting with before you even decide or even get to that end product? And food systems, they line up from production to distribution to value addition, all the way to your plate, if it's food that you're producing. And a huge and often neglected component is soil. Everything comes from the soil. So production in that sense has to go to how is the quality or how is the health of your soil. And then if it's not at a status that you'd like for it to be for production, what are you adding? And what you're adding, does it also meet the qualities or the nutrients, if it's the nutrients that you're adding to the soil? And then lining up to growth. And then you also have to control things like pests, diseases, so of course other inputs. All these have to be planned for, because if you don't plan, then you plan to fail. And if you're applying these fertilizers, how are you applying them? And how are you monitoring to ensure that the crop has gotten what it wants? Sometimes you need to plan way before, because if you're adding manure, it will be slow releasing. So it has to coincide with the plant needs. And when the crop is at a certain stage, probably it's budding or you're producing fruits, what kind of other inputs like foliar fertilization, which are adding more nutrients to ensure that the crop has enough strength, so to say, to sustain itself. Then you move from there and you get to harvest. Of course, another thing that I forgot is that you need to know where you're taking your crop. So you probably have a market. Or if you don't have a market, you're probably waiting for a broker who will come to your farm, and then you negotiate and all that. But that's also another thing, because you're trying to minimize your input, but also maximize the output, because that will dictate how you get paid. And then after that, there could be things like post-harvest and things like that, where you try to ensure, or even value addition. And this is where also the government is also trying to help farmers, even building aggregation centers, to ensure that you even reap more by adding value to your harvest. Yeah, so it's looking from your input to the growth process, and then the harvest, and where you're taking the product.
So that entire process is crop productivity, to the point where it's getting to the market.
Yeah, or food systems, just to ensure that you cover the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, getting back to the advanced technologies, maybe what advanced technologies are currently in use?
So the advanced technologies, and one thing, the interesting bit with Kenya is that 70% of crop production of agriculture is actually dominated by small-scale farmers. So there's a lot of disintegration, or like everybody's doing their own thing, right? The technologies that are being used if we compare them with the developed countries, we are a bit behind. One thing is because sometimes it's not economical to apply the advanced technologies to small-scale farmers. This would be things like drones, satellite imagery, to actually see where you have deficiencies in your crops. But it's slowly coming into place, and a good example is in soil testing, like I said before. Currently, the methods that are used for soil testing, they take quite long. It takes about maybe a minimum of 2 weeks before you can get your whole profile or the status of your soil. This is not practical, especially if you're looking at scaling these tests to more geographical coverage and also testing over time, because the soil will change its nutrient composition based on what you planted last season and what you want to grow the next season. So an advanced technology coming into place in soil testing, that's aim is to, number one, reduce the number or the duration that you have to wait for the results, and also the costs. So we are moving from the wet chemistry methods that I said would take longer to spectroscopic techniques. And that's one of the areas that I've been researching on, where you have the possibility of going to the field and even testing the soils on site and getting critical parameters that can then advise right there. And this also helps in terms of making timely interventions. Because if you're looking at a planting season and you're testing your soil probably a week before you put your seed in there, you need to know now what do I need to change, what fertilizers, what kind of manure, what kind of amendments do I need to put the soil. Sometimes you could be planting, let's say, cabbage, but the soil pH is not favorable for growth of cabbages. Why? It could be too acidic, meaning, number one, some of the nutrients will not be available for the plant. Now, I need to know that now. I don't want to wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when the rains are already like halfway, almost ending. Yeah, so soil testing is one area that even in the country we have already slowly started implementing those kind of things.
Yeah, and how do we ensure that these advancements, the ones that you've just mentioned, are benefiting both the commercial and smallholder farmers? Because as you've mentioned, the larger scale are the small scale farmers, right? So how do you ensure that they also get to benefit from these advancements?
Yes.
Are there strategies in place as we speak?
Yeah, so one thing is, of course, agriculture is a devolved function. So an easier way to get to the farmer would be to go through the county governments and then sort of like help them aggregate. Another thing would be, well, the large-scale farmers or the commercial, we don't worry much about because they have their own systems, right? Agronomic, they have agronomists who are right in the field. But an easy way, like I said, farmers aggregating, they can access some of these techniques. Not every individual farmer owning the technique or owning the instrument, but when they come together, they can have a structure where it's probably through cooperatives or things like that, and then they will be sharing. Of course, with the partners, donor partners, they also heavily invest on these kinds of techniques to ensure that farmers can, within a pool, enjoy some of these interventions that help them make decisions and accurate decisions when they decide to grow their crops.
Yeah. All right. Is there a way that progress is measured, in this agricultural transformation?
Yeah. A proposal would be trying to, there could be different kinds of key indicators. Right now, there's a big conversations about sustainability and about agroecology, as you rightly mentioned, is that we need to see that we are producing more, but also conserving the environment. So a good way to do that would be looking at probably how we are sequestering carbon back into the soil. This is, of course, helping to mitigate effects of climate change. So when you tell a farmer, well, do crop rotation, maintain cover crops to ensure that you don't leave your soil bare and then there will be erosion. Practice agroforestry, so have trees to make sure that you are also capturing carbon from the atmosphere. If you are able to measure that there is an increase in soil carbon or in soil organic carbon, that's a good way direct way would be to see that you have increased yield from last season to this season because you did this and that and that. And that, of course, motivates the farmer to replicate that, but not just that, to be like a train the trainer. So they will be your best advocate to their fellow farmers that, I tried this and I have reduced my input cost and I have gotten this much of yield. Yeah.
Yeah. Now there's biotechnology. I would want for us to look at the role it plays in all of this, having in mind that it is also quite a controversial topic, specifically in Africa and in Kenya. We've had that topic as a controversial a topic, especially when we talk about the genetically modified, So how about we take a break, and then when we come back, we'll get into that. Don't you go too far.
My name is Salim Mvurya, the Cabinet Secretary, Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports. And I want to tell all Kenyans, Chan is here with us. I want to invite you to Kasarani so you can rally our Harambee Stars team. The tickets are affordable, 200, 500, 1,000. Harambee Stars is playing, Kenya is playing. Let's meet at Kasarani. Tuko pamoja.
Unafanya nini hapa?
I have a family as well, as you know, and this is not the kind of reception I expected from you.
And now that you've seen them, can't you just leave?
Jenny mkora, hata unajua.
Stop yelling.
Oh, ana overreact. Wewe ufanya tu vile vyote unataka alafu babako ana overreact, si ndio? Unasikiza history yangu mama?
No, just stop it.
How many times do you want me to say I'm sorry?
You think it's easy?
Yaani nishinde nikitana jina yako huko kote na unisikii.
So unashinda ukishao tunakuwa na namba yangu.
Mzungu wako. Riembe tena.
Ndio nini hiyo?
Habari mzee.
Na uwezi kusema tu habari mzee.
Umesema ni sisi tulikurongoka. Wewe na huyo beste yako. Umejuaje ni sisi? Ndio umesema au kucheki.
Ulijuaje ni sisi ndio tuliteka hizo mishumari?
Au kitino unaweza explain ya Muhesh aje ati ni sisi tulieka hapo mamushu na tukaweka madimanga ndio gari zikikuja zisipite. Hebu prove ya Mwenya.
Mushu ni nini? Mushu?
Mushu ni mshumari.
Oh, msumari.
Wewe utaongea ile kitu mimi nitaelewa. Wewe nyamaza. Wewe na wewe unaelewa hata hiyo lugha huyu anaongea.
19 nations will compete in the Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania 2024, which will be staged from 2nd to 30th August 2025. Amongst the 4 groups in the tournament A to D, Kenya is pooled in Group A, together with Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia.
Algeria from the set piece, the header is on target, but it's saved.
This unique competition featuring the best locally based players from across the continent definitely has something for everyone. Just bring your A game as you let it flow live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
And we are back. Thank you for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, we are talking matters agriculture. And to be specific, we're looking at ways to utilize advanced technologies in enhancing crop productivity. And with me is Alex Njugi Wangeshi, PhD, who is an agroecologist. So before we took that break, we were talking about, we had just introduced biotechnology as part of this whole, advancement in technologies when it comes to the future of agriculture in Africa. What role does it play?
So yeah, this is a very interesting topic, and I'd like to first say that these are just my personal views on biotech and what I think it can do for agriculture as a whole. So there are two schools of thoughts. Number one is that biotech, and so to say, the elephant in the room, the GMOs, is that they have shown capability to improve productivity, resilience to drought, and also attacks from pests and diseases. So it's science, and it has advanced crop production, even in other countries, more so for things that are not necessary for consumptions, like cotton. We have BT cotton that's really good and doesn't need to be sprayed. But then on the other hand, the other school of thought is that this modification that we are not really sure of the effects and what would happen if you are continuously consuming genetically modified products. So in a way, my own personal view is that there is definitely huge potential to improve, especially in the face of climate change, to improve productivity when we embrace GMO. The thing here is that we have to be aware. Of course, before any product is introduced to the market, it has to go through rigorous testing and field trials and things like that to ensure that it behaves in a way that's acceptable. So as a scientist, I'm looking at it from a data point of view and saying that if we are improving production, if we are reducing the use of pesticides to spray to control pests and diseases, then it's a good thing. But of course, science keeps on evolving. What we know now might change 10, 20 years later.
Sure.
So it's a continuous process, but I don't think we should close the door about innovations and biotech, because we can leverage on it and actually produce. I talked about sustainable intensification. Biotech is one of the ways to ensure that we are intensifying, because tell you what, if I grow the same seed that was being grown by my grandmother 50 years ago, with a changing climate, that's the chances of me harvesting good or bumper harvest are very minimal. But if I go with changing times and introduce a seed that's resistant to drought, that's resistant to some of the pests that are capable of reducing your harvest by zero, not even 50%, then I would like to go to these ones that guarantees, because either way we are a growing population, not just Kenya but globally.
Yeah, we need to look at our food security.
We need to look at our food security. And one thing is that slowly Kenya or Africa is slowly coming out of food security, because of course we are using fertilizers and good inputs. Now we are looking at food safety. But also, if you are not careful with the erratic weather pattern changes, we could very fast go back to crisis in food security. So it's upon us to actually embrace every innovation, every idea that sort of guarantees us or gives us the hope that we can continue producing sustainably.
Okay, well answered. Now, when we talk about some of the challenges maybe that may be surrounding the utilization of or utilizing the advanced technologies in Kenya, digital literacy has to be somewhere topping the list, right? So how are there strategies that you feel can be put into place in order to just bridge that gap when it comes to the divide that is there in digital literacy in agriculture?
Sure, and this is a point where you in a very cruel way, you're told to shape up or sheep up, right? So it can be embedded, and one of the things that's being used or that has enabled this kind of transition to happen is the access to slow access to smartphones and even internet connectivity. And now we are even having the population slowly gradual shift of people who are conversant with using smartphones and engaging in internet and also consuming information directly. Of course, this is a good thing, and one way to ensure is that there's this organic kind of system where I'm the kid that teaches my parent how to navigate these kind of issues. But there's also information flow. If I don't have a smartphone, there's another way of probably using USSD code to get this information. But I need to know. So the radio stations, the people out there will be constantly telling farmers or people how to access information related to agricultural productivity. Then, of course, we have apps and things like that have been seen to quickly help farmers to access information. But we have to be careful, because with the information also comes misinformation or disinformation.
Sure.
Yeah. So you have this crowding of a lot of information, and how do you discern what's true and what's not true? There are cases of telephone farmers or internet farmers who are just relying solely on what they see on the internet and believing to be the gospel truth. So that's the challenge, because you have to be able to remove all this noise and get the signal. So if you have a lot of noise and less signal, you get lost in there. Yeah. So it's a give and take kind of thing. But I think with more, even AI, like I said, it has this very nice potential to help farmers, because you can even take a photo of a crop and then your advice fall into the trap of it could be true or not true. So you get the information, consume it, but also verify. And I think that way you increase your chances of getting it right. Not the first time, but probably the second or third time.
Yeah. Maybe another challenge that we can get to highlight, I can imagine, is trust. And by trust, I mean, there are communities or there are farmers who are used to the traditional way of doing things. Their traditional methods that have been working are still working, so they're wondering, why are you introducing these new things? I'm sure that is also a challenge. So how do we go about that, introducing or ensuring that now there's the trust bit in these tech solutions? Okay.
And this is where agroecology comes into place, because one of the pillars of agroecology is that you have to integrate indigenous knowledge, local knowledge. These people, like you rightly mentioned, we have been doing this over the past, I don't know, years.
And it has been
working.
It
has been working.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't come from whatever and import new knowledge and tell them, forget all this. No. You are integrating local knowledge, but you're also bringing in ecological principles, which means that you're looking at organisms, how they relate with each other, how they relate to the environment, and also bringing in issues of social justice. So agroecology looks at sustainability, local knowledge, and ecological principles. With this of achieving, because when you say this has been working, it could be that I've been planting in this cycle. So maybe I plant potatoes this season and I rotate it with beans the next season. That in its way, it's a very nice, because you are, number one, minimizing the spread of diseases that could be borne to potatoes. When you plant beans, you're fixing nitrogen from the atmosphere into the soil, thereby reducing the need for even applying more fertilizers. Now the trust has to come through demonstration that if we integrate what you have with what I have, we have the chance to improve. If I come and tell you that I respect what you've been doing, and I think that we can even get more by integrating your knowledge with this new knowledge, I think there will be more acceptability that this can work. Now, from there, that's why training starts with things like demonstration farms, where you have like a small trial where you try this new thing and compare it with what has been in existence. When that works, or if it doesn't work, then you get learnings from it and then you try again. It will really help. And this is where we talk about trying small and then scaling it. Even for farmers, I'm sure there are people who, when they are trying something new, they don't go all in. You try by doing something that you haven't been doing before. So a good example is with soil testing, I go back to it. I know most of the farmers, these are not hard facts, but I know probably 90% of the small scale farmers that we've been talking about, they apply fertilizers based on ways that they were doing before or ways that were being done by their parents before. That in this piece of land I apply this much bags.
Yeah.
But why are you applying this much bags before you know what's deficient? So that's one of the mindsets that has to change if we are to go the sustainability way. Number one, because you have the opportunity to reduce your input costs.
Yeah.
And number two, you have the opportunity to also know what can do best in that farm. Those blanket fertilizations should slowly change. We need that complete shift where you're coming from a point of, this is what I have, this is what I don't have, and where do I get what I don't have? In this case, we are talking about soil. It has this and that, but it doesn't have that. Let me go get that extra nitrogen or extra phosphorus and apply it. So there has to be a lot of advocacy and preaching.
For sure, I can imagine, because, you know, changing mindset is one of the hardest things to do. Could you maybe, is there a projection on when we can be able to just make that turn, you know?
I'd like to hedge that with a strategy that there's a government strategy called the Agricultural Transformation Strategy and Growth Strategy, 2019 to 2029. So what does that say? By 2029, we should have a lot of transformation in the agricultural sector.
By 2029?
Yes. So that's just looking from a policy point of view, right? But it's hard. This is a continuous process. It's not a leap. It's actually a series of small steps where you achieve this, that, and that. Now we're even talking about things like carbon farming, carbon credits, right? So it's a series of small steps where you show sustainability, more production, what does it promise? And also, in a way, nature has a way of telling you have to change your mindset, because if we continue getting rainfall less often or in an erratic way, like you cannot predict it, then in a way you need to know something has to change. If I keep growing the same crop in the same piece of land and seeing my yields diminishing, I need to know that, wait a minute, something has changed. Our soils are degraded. And that's one of the challenges that's facing Kenyan farming and even agricultural farming, is land degradation. We need to restore that. So I don't have a hard line where this should change, but it's a process. And as we talk about Vision 2030, most of the plans and strategies are pegged on that mark of 2030. But it won't stop at 2030. We'll still get all these transformations, because we'll be importing or we'll be learning from people who have been there before us. And hopefully integrate this knowledge over and over.
All right. And how do we also ensure that, you know, the increased production from tech also results in better income and also, you know, the food security that we are mainly about?
Yes, so ensuring that is I have my own thought that there's a huge gap between innovation or industry and academia. And that's one of the hugely untapped space, because we have very cool stuff happening in academia. Research after research. But where does it end up? In journals, in shelves, in theses that are nicely, you know, packaged, but it doesn't really connect with the industry. So if we can bring education where we probably have industry-led research in academia, I think we can leapfrog even this time frame that we are talking about, because it only needs to, the industry has the money, so it will fund research that can make sense in the industry. I've seen developed countries where actually farmers, through their groups, fund research in academic institutions to actually look at specific traits of crops that they are interested in. So we have a huge gap that doesn't take much, I think, to close it and make sure that we have industry-led research. And then people in industry, and I'm talking about even farmers, even the small-scale farmers, will benefit a lot from these kind of communications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in line with that and what you've just mentioned while answering that question, do we have real-time or real-world examples that you can actually point to, that you can mention, that is making measurable change, you know, when it comes to crop productivity, and it's working and it's doing really well?
I'll probably talk about cotton production in Australia. So they have embraced the BT, that's modified cotton. And this is, of course, through research that has happened before. So now you're able to grow cotton, spray it, and not even spray it because it's resistant to pests, and get super great yields. That's, of course, you're using it for making clothes. Wheat production in places like Denmark, where they are producing a lot through innovations, and they're growing wheat all year. They have winter wheat, they have wheat that grows. In essence, what you're doing, you're growing a crop that's viable for all seasons, and you're guaranteed of production, of course, if you put in the work.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe as we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, what are some other barriers that we've not gotten to touch on that are affecting us?
It's information access, number one, and this stratification of farmers who are small-scale farmers, meaning that they are not able to dictate what's happening in the markets. So number one is that you're having farmers who are not able to dictate what happens to them from an input point of view to an output point of view. From an input point of view is that it's nice that you have this subsidy program for fertilizers, so it's probably easier or cheaper for farmers to get the fertilizers. But now they don't have the information on how to apply. Some of the fertilizers you have to do it in split, or you have to apply at this time, or if it's this crop you need to do it in split to ensure that you get maximum usage. The other one is output, where the market is really cruel on you and you have to rely to set the price. And this has brought about a lot of, I would say, demoralization from the farmers. So then they shy away from investing much of their resources and time in agriculture. And to go back to your question earlier about crop productivity, is that things that work are continuous monitoring. So when you plant a crop and you see that it's failing or something is happening, there are technologies to ensure that you actually get to intervene and not lose it all. So if you're having deficiencies, you can even go test your soil immediately and test your leaf to see if you're having this correlation of plant uptake. So yeah, challenges, information flow being very, very, there are so many gaps in there, and also chances for farmers to intervene from a production and also from a market point of view.
Okay. Maybe just to get to hear from you, what are you most excited about in this innovation space of agriculture?
Oh, there's just a lot that can happen. So I think I'm more excited about where we can go, and also by the small steps that I've seen policy making to actually address these issues. So we are talking about stages where we will be applying spectroscopy for soil analysis, remote sensing for predicting what's happening on the ground, and also mapping out nutrient distribution in our soils. And that's just amazing, because what we'll have is that in a snapshot, you can be able to know, if I'm in Western Kenya, this is how the soil generally looks like. And these are the kind of things that I could do, or these are the crops that I could do. But also the space of the potential of Africa to actually be a big player in terms of mitigating climate change. So there will be a lot of incentives for farmers to practice agroecological practices like agroforestry, intercropping, cover crops, and things like that, and actually be compensated for that. So having good strategies to actually incentivize farmers to keep on doing this, this is a huge space. And this is where data will play a key role, and science also will come in and drive these kinds of innovations. So we'll be moving from blanket or just doing things as they were used to be as a way of thinking to data-driven production, which will be, of course, appealing for the young farmers who might want to engage into farming. Because you are talking about keeping records, looking at data, accessing information like weather through digital tools, and making sure that you're not caught off guard in your production process. And now what will happen is that, like I mentioned before, 60% of uncultivated arable land is in Africa. So what will happen if we are able to tap this? Africa will be the food basket of the world.
Yeah, because 60% is quite...
It's massive.
Yeah, it's massive, for sure.
So if we can do that, and it's already happening with like we are opening up markets for crops that were not accessible before or are not that accessible before, like avocados, and everybody's now planting avocados because not just because this is a tree and it's nice. You know, Kenya, we also an avocado eating country, but because there are markets out there that have opened up because they need to feed. So we need to practice sustainable intensification.
Right.
Yeah.
So the future is quite bright.
It is for
matters Africa and agriculture.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's coming from just a side hustle to the main gig, even for the young guys. Not something that you just started when you were a kid by just seeing and then going to a white collar and then coming back at your old age to try and practice it. But you can actually do it all the way, and it can be really enjoyable.
All right. Thank you so very much for just shedding light on this very important conversation. You have really gotten to get us into it and getting to understand the technology side, and the advancements when it comes to matters agriculture. So thank you so much for joining us. And maybe just a little banter on football. I don't know how much you know about football. Chanik or KBC, what teams are you supporting?
Oh, no, I try to play it safe at the start. Yeah. I will tell when we are a bit into the advanced stages to avoid ile inaitwa machungu.
That's the first real person I've heard, Victor, because everyone else just says Team Kenya. I'm supporting Team Kenya simply because you're Kenyan. Okay, I'm also supporting Team Kenya, but I'm saying he's the first real person I've heard kwa sababu he's just open that, he'll get to know as we advance.
So he's not a football fanatic? Are you a football fanatic?
I am, my friend.
Okay, internationally. Do you support Harambee Stars?
He's not an Arsenal fan.
No, I'm not.
You are not an Arsenal fan? No. This conversation is over.
Yeah, but he does support Harambee Stars, obviously.
Oh, yes. I'll be at the stadium on Sunday.
Okay.
That is given. I'll be there. I must have a story to tell. Yes.
All right, and this is where we get to end the show this morning. It has been a really, really informative show from the beginning when Victor talked matters education to this tail end where we've touched on agriculture. This is how we do it each and every morning, weekday morning, right here on Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. So how about we meet again tomorrow, same time and place. Do have a lovely day.
Want to look at the attitude and the perception of what they call the Gen Z, how they view the church and how they want to interact or how they're interacting with the church.
In me going to see you every other time she
invited me, I just kept softening up to the word of God. So I go in the crusades, I'm doing crusades, I'm preaching. There is a desire to be one with God, to really know God. So I would really urge you to pursue God and to pursue Him wholeheartedly.
Wakenya wenzangu, this August, something big is happening. Chan 2024 is here and Harambee Stars are ready to shine. Let us come together and support our boys as they fight for glory. Tune in to KBC Channel 1 and let's cheer our boys. Because when Harambee Stars win, Kenya wins. Twende kazi, Team Kenya all the way.
Are you ready for the next big thing in tech? Well, we'll spotlight Kenya's brightest young minds, game-changing startups, and breakthrough technology that are shaping our future. From AI and robotics to sustainable futures, we bring you the stories behind the scenes. KBC Channel 1. Remember, tech starts here.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made. Crafted.
Makers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
They say the earth without art would just be, get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best. From fine art, culinary art, performing arts, and even cultural events, you name it, and we have got you covered. My name is Kevin Kasioki, and I will be serving you this and much, much more each and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
About a few seconds to 9:30, or perhaps already 9:30 by your clock. Morning, the morning of the 30th day of July, the year 2025. This is a live broadcast of the Senate plenary sitting. The time allocated for its sitting is 9:30. A broadcast that is streaming live from the Senate chambers, Parliament buildings in Nairobi. And this broadcast is brought to you courtesy of the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in collaboration with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. A warm welcome to you, and we are glad that you are joining us for these Senate proceedings. This morning, being a Wednesday morning, as you can see already, a stand just right opposite the Speaker's desk. There is a stand where the cabinet secretaries will be taking their positions as they appear before the Senate this morning, of course, to respond to various concerns